Hello, my friends. Welcome back to the Purpose Show podcast. Today, we're going to talk about a struggle that so many people face like every day, and that is overthinking. I always thought that I wasn't really an overthinker. Um, I'm more of like a feeler, which is true, but I've started noticing a pattern when I started doing my most recent certification program. We learned about like the conscious mind versus the subconscious mind, and how like when we are in the conscious mind, like we'll go through this pattern of overthinking and what it looks like and the effects it has on you and your decision making and all these different things. And then I started working with clients and doing like field work for my program and all these different things. And I just repeatedly saw this pattern of overthinking. And then I noticed that I actually do overthink sometimes. It's just only in specific situations or when there's a risk of me feeling a certain way in a situation. Like if I make a certain choice and it's like quote unquote wrong, I'm going to be perceived a certain way or something is going to happen that's like one of my deeper fears. So it's only in certain things. But I know a lot of people. I have a really good friend that just struggles, just overthinks everything all the time. And he was raised by a really like critical parent and that just kind of like had something to say about every single thing he did. And so I know it, like that inner voice is there and it comes from that. But overthinking is really common and so many of us struggle with it. Some people are like my friend I just mentioned is like just completely paralyzed by overthinking and really just like can't move forward in life, can't make any decisions. Or one way that overthinking has shown up for me is instead of just feeling like I have an idea and it's good and I want to do something about it, I'll like need to get or feel like I need to get approval or like validation on the idea from certain people in my life or like several people to know that it's good. And it's like, well, it's just a good idea. And it like intuitively came to me, like, why can't I just trust myself? Like I'm overthinking it and needing to go get that validation because of the overthinking. So there's lots of different forms this can take. But yeah, I wanted to share that because I feel like it was super interesting to me that I always thought I wasn't an overthinker. And then I did find that pattern in my life, just in specific ways. So it shows up in these different areas of life in different ways. And it will show up in like your relationships, work, personal decisions, even things that are like really good for you. And there really isn't a wrong choice. I mean, honestly, there's almost never a wrong choice, but we can perceive things to be wrong. But anytime that you have a fear of that, like it can be as simple as, okay, I want to lose weight and I want to start working out. Well, how should I lose weight? How should I eat? What's the best way to eat? Well, people say this is good, and then other people say keto, and other people say paleo, and doing Whole 30, and then I want to do Pilates, but I heard that this is better for you if you want to lose weight faster. And what about intermittent fasting? And we just like overthink to where we're not even able to just like move forward and make a decision and just start something because we have perfectionism and we think that we have to have all the answers and it has to be a certain way or we're going to mess it up. And so overthinking's root, every behavior that's not serving you and every behavior that is serving you. So every behavior and habit and pattern that you have as a human being has a root. And overthinking is rooted most of the time in survival instincts. Like you don't want to do something that's going to cause yourself harm or, make things not good for you. But it kind of becomes like maladaptive. It kind of just becomes like this thing that you're doing all the time by habit. And you're like putting yourself in a state of paralysis. So what we want to do is first notice the triggers of our overthinking. And so there are several really common ones. The first one is a fear of failure or making mistakes. So if we have a fear of judgment from other people, if we have a fear of rejection or a fear of negative consequences, that is going to drive that habit of like ruminating on something, like just ruminating and ruminating all the time till you're just like avoiding taking action, like you're not actually doing anything or moving forward or helping yourself. You're just sitting there, like I said, just like that rumination phase. So if you spend hours like reconsidering an email to avoid making a small error or like how you maybe should have said something or if the person's going to receive that email in a way that's not how you intended it or whatever, that is the fear of failure, fear of mistakes, showing up as overthinking. So you can kind of reflect on your past, quote unquote failures, things that you've perceived were failing, which, they were not. They're just you being a freaking person. And we need to like be more chill with ourselves. But reflect on those things in the past and kind of just like scan your brain. Your subconscious mind remembers every single thing that's ever happened to you, every single thought you've had, everything you ever heard, everything that's been done to you, said to you, that you've said, everything. So you can kind of do a scan and almost just like ask your subconscious mind, like, what are the things that hurt me, that made me just feel like, man, I really failed? And kind of look at them and take note of how often they led to growth or a lesson that you needed for something in the future, or they were just like way less catastrophic than you imagined. Because when you get to a point where you're like overthinking just like a conversation that you were in, or like, the email example, like there is serious like fear that you are going to mess something up big time, that you're going to make a mistake, and that's not okay. It's basically not safe to be a human. Another really common trigger is uncertainty. So the human brain craves predictability. Remember, it wants familiarity, and anything that's not familiar is automatically labeled as unsafe, as a threat, just in case, because your subconscious mind is designed to serve you and keep you alive. So uncertainty can kind of cause this cycle of what ifs. So an example might be overanalyzing a potential career change because of the unknown outcomes. Well, I've never been in that position to have that much responsibility. Well, I've never made that much money in my business. I don't even know if I could have, the ability to manage money at that high of a level. Like, well, oh my God, what about the taxes? And we just kind of like overanalyze things that are very normal and very figure outable, and we don't really see ourselves as absolutely resourceful enough to, figure things out and go for it if it's a desire. So with this one, you really want to kind of look into identifying what is truly within your control versus what is not. So with uncertainty, like, yeah, there are probably going to be things in life, or there most definitely are going to be things in life and in certain circumstances and growth opportunities where it's like, oh, this happened and I didn't expect that. But you can control your response. You can always control yourself, and you can always control your response to things. You can always change your mind. You're not stuck. You can always move back to your home state if you don't like where you moved. I've done that. You can always like, go put the kids back in school if homeschooling doesn't fit. You can always, whatever. You can change your mind about anything and everything. Like I have a whole other episode on that if you want to go and search for it. But yeah, it's like we're so afraid of changing our mind, like it means something negative about us or something, and it's just ridiculous because it's literally part of being a person. Another really common trigger for overthinking is past trauma or negative experiences. Now, trauma is not just like what you would stereotypically think of as trauma. It doesn't have to be this massive, like abusive, catastrophic, traumatic big event. It's just something that causes you to have a very serious emotional reaction or feel like you were dropped or you were in a state of emotional shock. That's a trauma. So past failures, heartbreaks, losses, they can all lead to trauma and like a hypervigilance in decision making to make sure you're protecting yourself from failing again, from getting your heart broken again, or from losing something again. So, for example, maybe you're reliving past business failures like over and over and over again, and you're fearing similar outcomes. This is something that I have about 5 clients right now, and 2 of them, this is why they came to me, because we're reprogramming this exact thing. The past failures are being brought in to their new endeavors, and they're just paralyzed with fear that they're going to do it again, that they're going to fuck it up again, that people are going to judge them and they're going to look stupid, blah, blah, blah. And so when we're reliving these past failures and we're staying stuck in that place, we're fearing that it's going to happen again or something similar is going to happen again, we are again frozen, analysis paralysis. We overthink, and there's always going to be a reason that we find to not do the thing. So again, for this, you guys know I'm a huge fan of journaling. And if you're one of those people that's like, oh, I'm just really not a journaler, become one, because there's literally so many benefits to like writing pen to paper, not typing, writing pen to paper. And you can do your research on what are the benefits of physically writing with a pen and paper for your brain. It is going to make everything that you're writing, everything that you're processing and working through stick so much better and really help rewire those old neural pathways need to go. We need to rewire new ones that are deeply supportive of the changes you want to make, the life you want to live, the habits you want to have, so that you can start the new business, you can get the promotion, you can go for the new job, you can make the change, you can go lose the weight, you can start the workout program, whatever it is. So journaling about these past incidents to really kind of identify in yourself the emotions that this left you with and the patterns and reframing them as learning experience. There's a technique called neural energetic encoding. It's one of my certifications, and it's absolutely incredible. We get into the subconscious mind and find because your subconscious mind is like a computer that operates based on its programming or its coding. So we find the coding that is leading to this fear, this lack of action, this, whatever it is. And we literally use the subconscious mind communication, which is in images, and we re-encode something new that is more supportive. So like you literally don't feel afraid anymore of starting the business. Like you have literally rewired. So at an identity level, at a subconscious coding level, that old way of being is just gone. It's just gone now. And it's really, really cool. And you guys, you can always reach out to me if you're interested in working with me on that. Okay, another common trigger is comparison with others. This is a form of overthinking, believe it or not. Constantly measuring yourself against other people's success can lead to like a mental loop. So it's like if you're feeling inadequate after you scroll through social media, you're overthinking where you're at, where you've been, what you've accomplished, what you've done, what your life looks at. And you're subconsciously sending yourself the message that you're not good enough. So you're wiring in that coding, that belief. So this is why I love social media detoxes. I just took one first of all, it was like during and after the election, just like, I am not going online. Like, I'm just going to sit here and take a break. But even without that, social media detoxes are one of my favorite things. I pretty much take one every single Sunday, and then I'll periodically take like a week off like I just did. And so it's really, really good because it's almost like comparison-free time periods, and it's just really refreshing. And you can really practice like just intentional thinking and not having to share every single thing you're doing. And it's just really good for ditching that comparison version of overthinking. So that's my tip for that one. If that resonates, I would recommend a social media detox. Do it for 3 to 7 days. Okay. So let's do a self-reflection exercise together for a second here, because I really want to move into this next segment about like the techniques to really supporting yourself in this. So first, let's take a moment, and no matter what you're doing, I just want you to think about the last time you felt paralyzed in making a decision. Maybe you knew you were overthinking. Maybe you just felt like you couldn't make a decision and you were kind of having to like talk it out to a bunch of different people at different times. You can write down the situation if you want to, or you can just like bring it to your mind and like kind of label it, see it clearly, and like remember it consciously. And then I want you to list either on paper or out loud any fears or assumptions that you were making that was causing the overthinking. So what were you afraid of? What were you assuming about yourself or the situation or other people that was leading you to not taking action and to overthinking the situation? And then I want you to look and notice any patterns. If you're like, oh, well, I was assuming that I won't be good at this. Well, do you do that a lot? And you might be like, yeah, I actually do. I always assume that other people can do things and be good at things, but it's just not my thing. And even though it's something that I want to do and I want to try. And so there you go. You have a pattern, you have a limiting belief that you are not good at things. A lot of things are for other people, but not for you, when you can literally do anything, learn anything, figure out anything. Truly. That's how the mind works. So that's a really good self-reflection exercise that I really want you guys to try, even just as you're listening to the episode, because that's self-awareness, and self-awareness is huge. You can't change anything or break any patterns without having the awareness of yourself and how that pattern is active in your life. Okay. So I want to talk about mindfulness, and mindfulness is such a buzzword. It's annoying at this point, but mindfulness brings awareness to the present. That's all it is. And it breaks the cycle of overthinking, because you're releasing those thoughts and you're bringing your whole awareness to the present. And there's so much science backing this. Studies repeatedly show that mindfulness can decrease activity in the brain's default mode network, which that network is responsible for mind wandering and self-referential thoughts. So it shuts it down almost completely, and you're just literally in the moment. So you're giving your brain this break, this relief of, we don't have to do this right now. Let's just come back to where we literally are. So for me, if I was going to be mindful right now, I would stop overthinking. What am I going to say next? Am I doing a good job in this episode? I hope my microphone is blocking out Phoebe's heavy breathing. And I would just be like, okay, sit. I feel the chair underneath me. I have my matcha in front of me. I see the light on in front of me. I feel really good. This is really nice. This is relaxing. I smell the incense burning, and just being in this moment. Okay. So there's also a breathing exercise that you can do to really just kind of like regulate your central nervous system, because that's activated in a bad way. It's put into a fight or flight state when you overthink and you kind of are like mentally just going. So you're going to inhale through your nose for 4 counts, hold your breath for 4 counts, and then exhale slowly through the mouth for 6 counts. And then you're going to pause for a moment and repeat it as many times as you want. Regulating your breath calms the nervous system. It reduces cortisol, the stress hormone, and it creates a moment of pause to literally disrupt spiraling thoughts, which is what you need to do. You're used to letting it go, used to letting it spiral, used to letting it do whatever it wants, but you're causing a break in that pattern. And over time, when you continue to do that, it trains your brain that this is just not what we do anymore. We don't overthink. You'll naturally, intuitively be like, I need to disrupt this pattern. And it's really cool, because then you're literally not an overthinker anymore. Okay, there's also something called the 5-4-3-2-1 technique. And this is a grounding technique. I'm always saying, like, get grounded, get grounded. And people are like, what does that mean? How do I do that? So the 5-4-3-2-1 technique is, you stop and you name 5 things that you can see around you. And you can do this mentally. So if I was doing this grounding technique right now, I would say, I see my microphone, I see my crystals, I see my lotion, I see a note from my son on my desk, and I see my ring light. And then 4 things you can touch. Focus on the texture and the sensation. So 4 things I can touch. I'm touching the cold glass with my iced matcha in it. I'm touching my desk pad, and I feel the texture of like this like fake leather feeling. I can touch my amethyst and feel like the bumpiness of the raw crystal. I can touch this water bottle and kind of squeeze the plastic between my hands. I can touch my jeans and just feel the denim, feel my body like grounding in. 3 things you can hear. So what are 3 things I can hear? I can hear my voice. I can hear Phoebe's breathing. And I can hear the sound of outside because the window's open. And then 2 is for 2 things you can smell. So I smell the incense, and I smell just like the clean scent of my house, because there's like laundry going and all the things. And then number 1 is for 1 thing you can taste. What's the taste in your mouth? So like literally stop and kind of like taste. I just taste like I just brushed my teeth. It's the morning. I just taste like new day, fresh breath, which is always good. And if I were to like maybe really want to get grounded, I would take a sip of this matcha. And now I'm tasting the taste of that iced matcha. The purpose of this is to shift focus from the internal chatter to external reality and the moment you're in right now, which again breaks overthinking loops. And when you break an overthinking loop, you deeply serve and support yourself and retrain your subconscious mind to stop overthinking. One of the other things that I wanted to share, which this is a really popular tip for overthinkers, but it's kind of annoying the way people say it. Like overthinkers tend to not really like know how to meditate. And they've tried probably in the past and it just hasn't gone well. And it's so frustrating to me when people are just like, oh, you just have to like practice it. Like, no, you don't understand, bitch. Like I literally can't stop my brain. So I get it. So here's the spin on this that I have for you. There is something that I love. This is what I do. And it's called active meditation. And it's when you're doing something that your subconscious mind is fully taking care of. So like walking. You don't have to consciously think of how to put one leg in front of the other and what muscles to activate to go for a walk. It just happens. Taking a shower. You turn the shower on, you stand in there. I even like to put my palms up like under the shower head and watch the water hit my hands. And I'm kind of focusing on that. Like my thoughts are focused on looking at the water hit my hands. So I'm zoning out. I'm meditating, but I'm not just sitting there with my legs crossed and my fingers in that one position. Like I don't know what it is, and trying to clear my thoughts. Like it's impossible to clear your thoughts. You don't need to do that. Release that pressure. It's impossible to clear your thoughts. Your mind is meant to go, but you can control where it goes to. Or if I'm walking, the active meditation is I'm watching my feet hit the ground one in front of the other, or I'm watching the birds in the sky. Or I'm looking at the trees and the leaves rustling. Like you're focusing on something that's not overthinking. You're just enjoying. Another active meditation practice is lighting a candle and focusing on the flame flickering. So I like this one for like evening time. But you're doing something where you're not having to consciously think about what you're doing, but you're also not just sitting there staring into the abyss or closing your eyes. This is going to massively lower your cortisol, ground you, center you, and help you again break that pattern of overthinking. And the final one, which is actually kind of a part of a version of active meditation, is the body scan exercise. So all you have to do for this is close your eyes and just slowly bring your attention to each part of your body, starting from the top of your head. And I like to imagine like a green light, like a scanner, moving down and literally scanning all the different parts of my body one at a time. And as you're scanning, you notice if there's any tension and you consciously relax each area as the scanner hits it. This is going to release tension stored from the mental stress you've been putting yourself through from overthinking. And it's going to bring your awareness back to the body, which is going to bring you back to the present moment and ground you. Okay. Now, let's talk about decision paralysis and how that comes with overthinking. So overanalyzing decisions is going to lead to inaction and then increased anxiety because you know what you want and you're pretty sure you know what you need to do, but you're overthinking what it's going to lead to, what it means, what's going to happen. And then you get anxiety because you're worrying about all that, but also because you're not moving forward and doing the thing you need to do. So let's say you spend like hours comparing software options for something that you need to do at work or at your home computer without choosing one, which leads to wasted time and decision fatigue. And you just like, oh my God, you just pick a thing, but you literally feel like you can't. Having too many options leads to a lack of satisfaction and just like knowing what you want. And then you just avoid, like you don't feel satisfied with like, oh yeah, that seems good. Let's do that. And this is why I always thought I wasn't an overthinker, because I can do, like, I'll just be like, Google, what do I want? Oh, that has good ratings. Okay, done. Move on. So that's why I always thought I wasn't an overthinker, because I don't overthink in this way. But so many of us do. And then it's just overwhelming. And we already have so many decisions we're making, especially if you're a mom. And so it's like you just avoid it and don't do it. And then you still don't have software to protect your computers at home. So this is what we want to do. We want to shift into quick decision making and just letting it be okay. So Mel Robbins has something called the 5-second rule. And this is where you count down from 5 and make a choice before you reach 0. The purpose of this is that it interrupts hesitation and encourages action. So let's go back to the software example. Let's say you have to pick a software for something at work, or your boss put you in charge of something and you're like, oh my God, I'm going to disappoint them. I'm going to fuck this up. You would do your research and then lay out like the top 3 options and then count down from 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. And before you hit 0, you need to choose. This also teaches you to tap into your intuition. You already know what the right choice is going to be, and you need to tap into that. And that's the other thing, like that kind of is connected and brings me to my next point, trusting your intuition. Take like 30 seconds and just ask yourself, what does my gut say about this? Stop analyzing, get out of the head and drop into the gut. What does my gut say about this? Intuition is usually going to come from the deep subconscious knowledge and from past experiences. Your subconscious mind knows everything and remembers everything, right? So tap into that and give yourself the gift of relief from overthinking because your gut knows all. Okay, the other tip I want to leave you with is limiting your choices down to 3 options and then setting a time limit. So like the 5-second rule. Or it could be, all right, I'm not sure what to do, but I'm going to set in my calendar a specific time block for making this decision. I'm going to set a timer and I'm going to give myself this 20 minutes to choose between these 3 things. And so this prevents analysis paralysis and reduces your anxiety over making the perfect decision because making a decision is perfect. Okay? What I really want to like leave you guys with is accepting imperfection especially if you were raised by like a parent with really high standards or like was really strict, or you just felt like you had to be perfect all the time. You're gonna just feel like a failure anytime you don't do something that, maybe was the smartest or made everyone the happiest. And so really like learning to view your mistakes as growth and humanity and learning opportunities rather than reflections of like inadequacy is going to be huge. There's so many times this has been the case for me. I tend to just take action. If anything, I don't think about decisions enough. It's not, like I said, it's not my area of overthinking. But there were so many times where like I made a decision and I just went all in on it and I did the thing and then I put it out there and it was just like a huge bust. Like didn't lead to what I needed it to lead to for my business, for revenue, whatever. Like just made a decision and shared something with a friend and it ended up like not being the right person to share it with and it just kind of bit me in the ass or whatever. This is the art of living life. This is the human experience. Like expecting that everything is going to go perfectly is not real and it's not living. It's really not. Think of the affirmation, like, especially when it comes to things with like business or work or like doing things for like church or friendships or community, whatever. Done is better than perfect. And like really adopt that mantra so that you're reducing the pressure to get every decision exactly right. Done is better than perfect. Opening up your heart and sharing something with somebody is beautiful. And maybe it doesn't go the way you wanted it to go. And so you learned the lesson to protect yourself and maybe like vet people a little bit differently once before you open up, which is what I learned from the experience I just told you about. Maybe you pick a software and you did your research and you're like, okay, yep, this is what I'm picking. And it's not serving the office as well as you would have liked it to. Okay, well, what specifically about it? Now I know. I just learned about software because I previously had no idea. Like you're allowed to be in process. You have permission, not that you need it, but you have full permission to be a fucking human being and be in process and be imperfect. I think especially today, like the internet just seems to expect everybody to be so perfect and say everything just right and be like perfectly politically correct about every single thing. But it's so wild because it's based on their opinion and everyone has different opinions. So like it's okay to let go of control and embrace uncertainty. And even like I'm really working on it right now on getting to a place of like loving and accepting imperfection. My imperfections, because there are plenty, the imperfections of the experience of being a human and the journey. Like I'm just, I protect myself. I love myself. I won't be taking shit from people, but I am also humble and like open to like, yeah, I did need to. I didn't know that. Thank you for showing me that. I just did that recently with a comment about something that was going on in Israel. I truly had no idea that there was a certain thing happening with that, and somebody brought it to my attention in the comments, and they did it in a really kind way, and I just was like, I had no idea about that. And I've been seeing things about this situation, but I did not know about that. Like, thank you. And that was it. And so it's like balancing that, like, I'm allowed to be in process. I'm allowed to not know everything. I'm allowed to learn and grow and be and exist and be in process. And then also like loving myself, protecting myself, trusting myself, and just making decisions so that I can move through the life that's full of lessons and growth for me. Does that make sense? That's what I've landed on. All right, my loves, I'm sending you so much love, so much light. Practice what I gave you today. The things that are in here were highly researched. They're all science backed, and they're going to deeply support you in breaking that unhelpful pattern of overthinking. I love you so much, and I'll see you next time.